Dada-Dreadlocked Hair, The Hidden Messages of Mami Wata in Southeastern Nigeria by Sabine Jell-Bahlsen. A chromolithograph depicting a woman with long hair and snakes was introduced into Nigeria, spread quickly, gained popularity, and became an African icon known as Mami Wata, lumping together a host of diverse yet related beliefs and highly localized water deities. This icon increasingly was targeted by Christian zealots who used the sweeping name as a common denominator to demonize indigenous religious beliefs in multiple gods, particularly female water goddesses. Art may transcend linguistic borders. The image, with its recurrent telling features of a woman with long hair and snakes, is immediately identifiable to members of various ethnic groups throughout West Africa. The members of these groups worship different yet similar local water deities. These deities have different African names, are either male or female, and at times are androgynous. In addition to this complexity, the Mami Wata icon is a complex avatar of religious beliefs. All of its elements, woman, water, long hair, snakes, certain colors and numbers, are loaded with meaning and psychological associations. Each constitute must be interpreted according to its significance within its individual African cultural context, a context that differs from European systems of thought. This paper focuses on Mami Wata's hair, drawing primarily on the religious beliefs and related artistic and ritual expressions of the people who lived around Oguta Lake, where this author conducted long-term field research from 1978 to 1994. Additional supporting evidence from neighboring peoples is also provided. Oguta Lake is associated with a water goddess, Uhamiri, who is also known as Ogbuide, and more recently as Mami Wata. Her husband is the river god, Urashi. This localized divine pair, an expression of an idealized equilibrium of gender, functions prominently in the lives of the villagers as evidenced in interviews, life histories, and ceremonies, and as documented in historic and contemporary ethnographic and literary writings and ethnographic videos. The priesthood for both deities is vested in male hereditary titles, as well as vocation, spirit calling, or possession, often of women. The latter type primarily is identified with Mami Wata. The goddess's impact is preeminent in the oeuvre of Oguta's most prominent daughters. Flora Nwapa, Nigeria's late First Lady of Letters, who throughout her life and opus first explored and then deconstructed and later reconstructed the mother water goddess and her gifts. Ogbuide Uhamiri is a variant or local manifestation of Nanamiri, the Igbo mother water goddess, or water the birth giver, associated above all with motherhood and female fecundity. Her identifying mark is a head of profusely abundant hair. She is known and praised as Nwanyi Ishi Ajakaja, a woman of big hair. Obudima dreamt that a woman with mighty hair entered her room. She had had a similar dream earlier. Then, 3 weeks later, she had the same dream again. Now knowing that she was pregnant, Obudima suspected that the woman of her dream with mighty hair was Uhamamiri, Ogbuide, the goddess of Oguta Lake. Therefore, she suggested to her husband that he should make a sacrifice to Uhamamiri. It is believed that the mother water goddess of mighty hair may help individuals conceive, for it is she who gives life and children. And the words of Madame Nwamametu Okorafor, Uhamamiri na akpota nwanya inye mamadu ife nine. Uhamamiri gives a person a child and everything else. Despite her benevolence as a harbinger of childbirth, the Mother Water Goddess is also feared as an awesome deity who may presage doom. She controls the watery transitions between life, death, and rebirth. Her excessive hair signals her two-pronged powers to give and take. Hair, ideas of beauty, identity, spirit calling, and state of mind. African culture greatly emphasizes body care and personal grooming. The head and hair styling are important to both men and women. A huge variety of men's and women's hairstyles exist on the continent and has been undergoing constant changes with different fashions and regional elaborations. The Nigerian photographer J.D. Okai Ojekere, who photographs hairstyles, observes that hairstyling is a practice to increase beauty, a form of art. When you see a hairstyle do this or that, every single movement is precise and rapid. She creates a hairstyle the way a sculpture would work, from nothing. These hairstyles pass from one woman to another, from one style to another, without ever repeating. They learn their techniques from their mothers. Pre-colonial African art attests to the great importance attributed to the head, especially the hair. Hairstyles form an intrinsic part of the ideals of feminine beauty and are also an important part in men's grooming. African hairstyles are highly developed and diverse within and between different ethnic groups, times, and places. They reflect important attributes of an individual's social standing, personality, and identity. Hair can be regarded as a sculptural mode of representation. In African images of women, plentiful hair, elaborate head ties, or coiffures are described as plaited, braided, or sculpted. Coiffures are carefully carved in anthropomorphic masks, utensils, and sculptures. From ancient Egypt to the Cape, entire art forms have developed around the creation of headrests for the purpose of preserving the coiffure. The head is regarded as perhaps the most significant part of the human body, both in Igbo cosmology and among other African peoples. Here, a woman's head represents an important indicator of feminine beauty, both internal and external. Hair is an extension of the head. As such, along with judging and shaping the head itself, great care is applied to coiffure and hairstyling as an intrinsic part of the head. It signifies not only personal grooming, but also shaping a social being. Among the Igbo and Ibibio, a person's forehead is associated with his or her destiny. Moreover, the head, and by extension the hair, is associated with physical and emotional balance and health, or lack of either. African sculptures normally depict human beings as well-composed and groomed. Classic forms portray well-balanced, idealized beings in their steady state of mind. Only some masks intend to coerce or scare audiences or represent deformities of bodily imbalance. Even fewer images depict human beings with wild, long, or unkempt hair. Hair grooming and sculpting is as much part of classical representation as it is part of everyday aesthetics. In real life, not only all individuals are always as composed as in classical artistic imagery, nor do they always conform to all social ideals or norms, but only a mad or bereaved person, a non-human, or a medium of the spirit world would go unkept. Unkept or twisted long hair is as unusual in real African life as it is in the arts. Long hairs, especially when left unkept and twisted, signals transgression of social norms, danger, disease, witchcraft. It also can signal closeness to spirit forces of the water, of wilderness, or even of death. Some individuals may refuse to cut, groom, or comb their hair. They allow their hair to grow long and wild, twisted, and turn into dreadlocks. In Oguta, these individuals are known as Dada. Dada persons claim that they can no longer cut their hair. They leave it long and forever unkempt. This can happen to both men and women at any time in their life, even in childhood. The story of Sunday, the Eze, Ugo illustrates the association of dreadlocks, Dada, with emotional crisis and illness, into water spirit priesthood. Sunday was an arrow man who lived among the Oru Igbo. At one time in his life, he was considered mentally deranged by his people. His illness began in 1969 and lasted for many years, during the course of which he was treated and eventually healed by a local priestess of the lake goddess. By 1978, Sunday had attained the highest male water priestess title, Eze Ugo. In this role, he acted as an assistant to this priestess in the worship of the water deities, as well as in healing. His popularity and success as an herbalist spread far beyond his hometown. Sunday was highly recognized personally in his town, with his dreadlocks reaching down to his waist by 1986. He never cut or combed his hair. His mysterious death in 1987 was ascribed to jealousy, witchcraft, and or poisoning by a competitor. Sunday was illiterate, but his brother, Mr. Samuel Oji, wrote the following on his behalf in 1978. Mr. Sunday Okereke started growing this dada as from the 5th day of December 1969. This is the way it all began. One day in a dream, 2 girls were plaiting his hair, and later that morning, he discovered that his hair looked somewhat plaited, actually. He tried to comb it, but it twisted again after. Earlier before this, a certain prophet at Oguta had told him that he would be a dada and a prominent man. When all this had been said, a certain native doctor at Izombe Oguta saw him and said that Sunday would be a dada. From this moment, Sunday could not eat any food for 3 consecutive months. It was this time that he was staying with a woman called Mrs. Martha Mberekepe, an herbalist who was treating his ill health and catering for his welfare at Orsu Obado, Oguta. When this illness commenced, some people from his hometown, Aro Mbele, Oguta, contributed to his burial fund, and those who hadn't the money cried whenever they saw him. Since then, this Mrs. Mberekpe, popularly known as Eze Nwanyi, Queen of Women, or Eze Mimiri di Egwu, the water monarch is awesome, had been catering for him till now. Among the Igbo, the plaiting of a man's hair is rare and largely regarded as an indication of spirit calling. Hair plaiting belongs to the female domain. For a man to dream that his hair is being plaited, it's a highly unusual transsexual reference reminiscent of transvestism. Such a dream represents a form of gender reversal, a theme existing in Igbo culture. In Sunday's case, his transsexual dream was interpreted by local diviners as indicating his vocation to serve the water spirit. This interpretation is common throughout Africa. Gender reversal, even transvestism, exists elsewhere in Africa, although it has been little studied. For instance, as Babatunde Lawal notes, male devotees are considered to be the wives of the Orishas, and at ceremonies are costumed and coiffed as women. Dreadlocks may superficially appear like braids, yet these long locks are not the result of braiding or plaiting, but rather of intended neglect. A dada, man or woman, is seen as signaling danger or something wild going on within his or her life or head. Being dada is a personal statement involuntarily expressed in the individual's hair. Dada may afflict a person at any time in life, even a small baby who is not aware of what hairstyling means. This is evident in the story of a baby dada told by his mother, Mrs. Celia Akubaye. 3 months after the baby was born, his hair started to cool. Each time we tried to comb his hair, he got a fever. He got a big fever. One of his legs died, and also one of his hands. He went to a diviner. He told us that the baby should be called Urashi, because he is reincarnated by the river god. We had failed to call the baby Urashi and given him another name instead. Therefore, Urashi wanted to take the baby away from us. When we found out what was wrong with the child, we took him to the water priestess, Eze Miri. We bought everything she said and offered a sacrifice to Urashi. From then on, we started calling the baby Urashi. Eze Mimiri treated the baby and he got better. My child's illness made me to join Eze Mimiri's water society. Long hair, as in the well-known image of Mammy Water, is not necessarily a physical attribute exclusive to Europeans. Among the Igbo, long hair does exist. It may be braided and styled or left unkept, ungroomed, coiled, or twisted. Unkept, twisted dreadlocks are considered wild hair that resist combing. Dreadlocks are the opposite of well-groomed, cut, or shaven hair in men, and of braided or plaited hair in women. Women's long hair, expressing fertility, change of destiny, excess, or revolt. Uncut and unkept wild hair may signal danger and closeness to the spirit world in men. It has added significance for women. According to Fraser, a woman's long hair, unbound, and especially when associated with water, is a universal motif representing fertility, rain, magic, and the inherent danger associated with the invocation of hair. A woman's hair and her fertility are the common focus of society's desires, rules, and regulations. Both are psychologically and socially defined and perceived as awesome. Hair, like female fertility, is not to be left wild. Female fertility is highly desirable and potentially beneficial, yet excessive fertility is regarded as potentially overpowering. To wit, Oguta's lake goddess, Uhamimiri, is associated with female fertility. It is also known as Oguide, a name that can be translated as she who kills with excess/flooding. Among the Igbo, as among other African peoples, fertility is regarded as a man's greatest asset, a sacred gift of the gods. But excessive fertility, for instance in the form of twins, is considered a serious abomination, or breach of the laws of the land. Omenala, it is condemned by society as any other excess, as the following story suggests. When Aguriaboria's wife, Obudima, was pregnant, she had a dream at the very initial stage of her pregnancy that somebody came into her house, presented the fat man to her as her child. Later on, other people wanted to take the mighty man away. She refused and was congratulating herself for her success when a woman with mighty hair entered the room. The woman told Obudima that the lake goddess had been doing many good things for her husband, but that he had not once shown his appreciation. As the woman left, Obudima found herself carrying twin and baby boys. Later, some other persons came in and wanted to take the babies away from her. There was a fight. Then she woke up. In this gloomy dream, an Oguta woman identifies the lake goddess by her mighty hair and links her to her pregnancy and the prospective arrival of the desired baby boy. At the same time, however, the goddess's appearance signals the danger of fighting, loss of children, and twin birth, a breach of custom. The water goddess is believed to demand obedience from those she benefits and to cause doom to those who do not acknowledge her gifts. Furthermore, transgression of reproductive norms such as annual childbearing or bearing twins is not well received. Such excessive fertility is deemed inappropriate for human beings, socially undesirable, and a potential threat to society that may require appeasing the water gods. In Oguta, twins were formerly left to die. Moreover, in pre-Christian Igbo society, female fertility was traditionally regulated through birth spacing, a practice that limits the time between a woman's giving birth and her next child to at least 3 years. In Oguta, this practice is ascribed to the lake goddess's law. In addition, to avoid tragedy, a woman's fertility, her body shape, and by extension her hair is relegated. as is the practice in many West African societies. In Oran and Ibibio, women, Madame Grace Joe, the mother of Mary Magdalene, told of how her daughter's spirit calling by the water prevented her from normal marital relations. Each time she laid down on the bed with her husband, the water came between them. Madame Grace Joe further related how she and later her daughter were both claimed by Mammy Wata at the time of their respective initiation into womanhood and married life. You see, these are Mammy Wata. My own started when my mother put me in the fattening room. They prepared everything to build me as a fully grown girl, to leave me to my husband. They bought plenty of things for me. Then my Mammy Wata started. I broke all those things. I didn't know myself. All those things were broken by me. My mother ran to one priest in our place called Idua Ezerede. My mother bought everything from him, for him. They performed everything for me. Then I became normal again. But as I started to bear children, Mammy Wata hooked my children. That is, Mary Magdalena. I got it from my mother. Then my daughter got it from me. This too was a terrible story. We didn't know in time that Mammy Wata was wearing Mary Magdalena. We were in Lagos at that time. She was schooling there. But on every big moon, her white dress turned black. It would turn her head. The following day, she would know herself. We tried to help her, but we did not succeed. Then we returned home. Here at home, we recognized that it was Mammy Wata who worried Mary Magdalena. I called my sister. She is a priest of Mammy Wata. She came, she carried her up and performed a small sacrifice. Mary Magdalena became a priest of Mammy Wata. From her hair preparation, you can see that she is Mammy Wata herself. The young woman's hairstyle, in this case, groomed long hair with braids, attachments, and combs, signals her identification with the water goddess, Mammy Wata. The hairstyle also signifies her association with the esoteric knowledge as part of initiation and the practice of training and grooming young women in the fattening house in preparation for marriage. Salmons vaguely takes note of the correlation between fattening house and Mammy Wata, but is largely unaware of local water deities. Moreover, she mistakes the Edo, Igbo, Ibibio, Efik, and Ejarhan women's initiation rites as teachings all the secrets of the cult and be imbued with the powers of divination. Mary Magdalene is one of many Mammy Wata worshippers in that area who, at one time in their lives, revolt against their marriages, jobs, training, or whatever society expects from them. They trade esoteric involvement, priesthood, or water worship for ordinary married life, which is deemed to be a woman's destiny. Changing a person's destiny to marry and become mother to many is in the water goddess's power. But those who choose to have their destiny changed by the goddess embark on a dangerous path. They must become devotees of the water goddess later in life. Refusing to do so is believed to cause disaster. A woman who follows the water goddess could still marry, but she would then reserve one day out of the 4-day market week for the water deity to whom she is devoted. On this day, the worshipper's mind and body is reserved for Mammy Wata, thereby defining a social distance between her husband, and the ordinary. In an extreme case, it is believed that a man can come to great harm or even death if he marries a woman who worships a water spirit, who refuses to groom her hair, or whose beauty transcends established norms, as many Nigerian novels, stories, and poems attest. In Oguta, as elsewhere in West Africa, a woman's coming of age, her incipient fertility, her grooming into a full member of society, and the related shaping of her body and hair are closely connected psychologically and socially. In Oguta, these elements of womanhood are linked to the beliefs and rules surrounding the late goddess. who controls life and reproduction. These elements are associated with the popular image of a woman with long hair and snakes. Customarily, every Oguta woman is expected to get married and have children. This social requirement is associated with grooming and shaping a woman's hair and body, traditionally including female circumcision, which, as evidenced in the novels of Ogutas, Flor and Wapa, was considered a prerequisite of childbearing until recently. Oguta men and women are normally anxious to live up to society's norms and expectations to get married and to have children. Yet bearing children is an expectation that not every woman can or will meet. Moreover, the transition from the unconstrained beauty of an adolescent girl to a married wife, mother, and composed matron is not an easy one. Not every young woman finds it easy to identify with the ideals and constraints of mature beauty. As Flora Nwapa has pointed out, some women resist arranged marriage or circumcision and, by extension, childbearing. Some perhaps subconsciously prefer a career and wealth to the burdens of motherhood. Others cannot deliver or are troubled by their inability to conform to society's maternity norms forbidding twins. Still others cannot keep their pregnancies or their children die prematurely, leaving their unfortunate mothers childless in old age. According to Obiora, and further evidence in Wapa's last novel, women may modify customs that are considered outdated or too harsh, for example, by faking female circumcision. Women who experience personal conflict from society's reproductive expectations may turn to the lake goddess for help and consolation. Among those who did just that are the heroines of Nwapa's novels, Mami, a young woman from Orsu Obado, the Eze Mamiri of Orsu Obado, and many other priestesses and their followers who this author intertwined during her fieldwork from 1978 to 1994. Nene Mamiri, Mami Wata, the supreme Igbo mother goddess who grants fertility, may console and protect those who cannot conform, change an individual's destiny, and even harbor revolt. The water goddess with long hair shelters those who cannot deliver or who deliver too many, children, twins, as much as she helps the bereaved. The goddess may also claim those who act wild or who contradict society's norms and expectations, for example, by wearing dreadlocks. The mother goddess controls the crossroads or watery transition points from life to death to rebirth. An awesome deity, she may either grant or take away children. She helps and consoles, but she may also bring tragedy. Situated between life and death, the water goddess is linked to healing and may change a person's precarious position between life and death. A person who neglects or refuses to serve her is believed to court personal disaster, including misfortune, illness, mental derangement, and even death. Of particular relevance here is the fact that Mami Wata is described as the embodiment of beauty, and Ogbuide translated her name to mean killer beauty. Her hair is believed to be long, thick, and at times twisted. In the words of Mrs. Onyemuru, an elderly fairy woman from Oguta, Ogbuide Eze Nwanyi, the water monarch, Iyi comes from the moon. Iyi has followers. Iyi killed a person's son and used a ram to pay back. Any person who wants to go well on his way, you have to give it a ram. If somebody drowns, you have to give it a ram to it. Ogbuide has twisted hair, a person of big head. Iyi is good. The woman king is fine. Uhamiri Ogbuide Mami Wata is the epitome of beauty and fertile giving. Local people implored the lake goddess and her husband to grant children, particularly male children, fertility of the land and woman, life, health, and today, money and success in general. Her long hair is synonymous with fertility and the ability to grant, bear, or beget children. Yet the goddess and her consorts and emblems may also signal danger and death. Dreadlocks invoke crisis and temporary derangement, resulting from first neglecting and later following the goddess's call. Her long hair also signals revolt, a young woman's unconstrained beauty, power, and potential refusal or inability to lead an ordinary life. Dada means connectedness to the spirit world, the esoteric, and its associated dangers and healing forces. The goddess Oguide Mami Wata compensates for losses and infuses women with fertility, beauty, and power. She represents danger, but also encourages and inspires. The goddess is medicine, for she heals. The Mami Wata myth is closely connected to ambiguous gender and to a full body of long and at times unkept and twisted hair. Like myth, the symbolism of the icon's hair carries a twofold potential. Myth has a documentable function. It points out and notifies. It makes us understand something, and it imposes on us. Mami Wata's long hair belongs to the generic Igbo mother water goddess, such as Uhamimiri Oguide. This hair is thick, long, at times twisted, and imbued with hidden messages of a two-pronged African religious symbolism that sees her mane at once as a sacred and a threat. Long hair stands for fertility and extraordinary beauty, but its twist also signals potentially life-threatening excess. Contact with the spirit world, wilderness, evading civil control, unrestrained fertility or creativity, personal protest, and a state of body and mind transcending the ordinary and evading control. African custom is not as stagnant as some foreigners' interpreters would make us believe. Some people either refuse or cannot conform to the established norms. As such, they fuel development and promote change. As ambiguous and slippery as the Kalabari, Igbo, and Ibibio water deities, Mami Wata is both potentially beneficial and awesome. Her wild locks represent fertility, but they are also a true sign of the crossroads, the water transition between life, death, and rebirth. Mami Wata's long hair and her twists bear multiple messages. One of its appearances, Dada, reveals inspiration and the forces of creative change derived from vocation, recalled perhaps unwittingly by dreadlocks in the New World.